Welcome back. We're very happy to have you with us. We're continuing our reflection. Now, we would be back in ordinary time, and we are in ordinary time, but the Sunday when you go to Mass, I believe it's red because it's Saints Peter and Paul.
It is.
And so you won't see green yet. I was all looking forward to it, and then I realized that Peter and Paul is on a Sunday this year, so we're very blessed to have this feast day that does actually, most feast days we don't have if they fall on a Sunday, but this one is one that we do, so it's a special feast day. So we're very happy to have Amy read from Matthew's Gospel.
Yes.
Yeah.
A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Matthew. When Jesus went into the region of Caesarea Philippi, he asked his disciples, "Who do people say that the Son of Man is?" They replied, "Some say John the Baptist, others Elijah, still others Jeremiah or one of the prophets." He said to them, "But who do you say that I am?" Simon Peter said in reply, "You are the Christ, the Son of the living God." Jesus said to him in reply, "Blessed are you, Simon, son of Jonah, for flesh and blood has not revealed this to you, but my heavenly Father. And so I say to you, you are Peter, and upon this rock I will build my church, and the gates of the netherworld shall not prevail against it. I will give you the keys to the kingdom of heaven. Whatever you bind on earth shall be bound in heaven, and whatever you loose on earth shall be loosed in heaven." The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ. So this is a very well-known reading, and if you don't know it, it's a very great reading either way. So it's interesting when I say that because we kind of presume that everybody has heard these readings before, and that is not always the case. I have occasion to talk to young people who are not churched, as we say, that hear these for the first time, and it's a great gift to be able to deal with a first-time hearing of the gospel readings with people. It's really wonderful, and most of the time nowadays they hear them and they go, "Oh, this is really good." Meanwhile, we were kind of grew up with them, and I don't know, maybe it's just Amy and I's generation that we kind of look at them and say, we've heard them so much, and we've dealt with our parents' interpretation, our grandparents' interpretation, but now you have a young generation who is interpreting it for the first time for themselves, not having heard that. So, little aside there. Every once in a while, someone will say, it's terrible that people don't know the gospel stories, but it's terrible that they learned them. It's not terrible that they learned them, rather. And it's wonderful when people hear these things for the first time and actually engage in them and say, wow, this is relevant to the world we live in today. So can't discourage anybody from any time hearing these for the first time. It's a wonderful gift because it means so much to us when we hear these things. Well, this reading in particular, the meaning of it might be a little hidden, and depending on what's going on in your life and the world, you might take different things from it. But Jesus asks two very different questions. One is, who do the people say that I am? And the other one is, who do you say that I am? And one of them is about you who know me. You who know me have traveled with me. What do you say? And he gives them a safe question first. Who do the others say that I am? And the answer, probably with big smiles on their faces, maybe even laughing and excited, saying, some say Jeremiah, some say one of the great prophets, some say Elijah. And these are great things they're saying, and they're excited about them, but they're all wrong. They're all wrong. And he listens, and you can tell when he asks that second question, he kind of probably sucks the air out of the room when he says, but who do you say that I am? And then they had to say, well, we wanted to live in this excitement, Jesus. Thanks a lot. You took that from us. And it's Peter only, after a moment of silence probably, that says, you are the Christ, the Son of God. And Jesus responds by saying, you didn't know this from anything anyone else told you. You know it because of what God the Father told you. And upon that rock we build that church. So that's where that great thing comes from. That Jesus really tells us to be careful about knowledge that we gain from listening to humans, and really prioritize the greatness of the knowledge that we know by what we learn from God himself. That is everything. That is awesome. That is, it's just so wonderful that we have to just have to remember that. It's very akin to saying, he could have asked them, if it happened nowadays, what do the polls say? What's the polling data tell you? It's like that. And that's kind of, polling data has its place. We get information, we can talk, okay, or statistics have their place in that way. We get information that way. But I can also make a very serious mistake by only relying on polling data. What happens in the church? Because we were driven by things that we did a poll and this is what it said, and it's like, okay, let me see the data itself, let me see the questions that were asked, let me see the varieties of responses, because that can all be flawed. I can get information, I can get whatever information I want if I ask the questions the right way. So Jesus here teaches us that the most valuable information you may receive is from God himself, because God told Peter the truth. And incidentally, he told him that Jesus was the truth, that he was Son of the living God. So we have to think about it that way. Fulton Sheen, I don't think he used the polling comparison here when he talked about this, but he used it when he talked about Peter walking on the water. Peter's eyes were fixed on Jesus Christ. He could walk on water. He could walk on the water. And then I think Fulton Sheen says, but then he realized that the polling data said that what he was doing was not possible. And he took his eyes off of Christ and started to fall. And that's really a great lesson, if that's true. I know I remember it correctly in some sense from what Fulton Sheen said, but that's right on the money. Is that we don't want any earthly thing to take our eyes off of Christ. And we do that all the time. We go, oh, this podcast, this commentator, this blog, this whatever. And then we stop thinking about the gospel. Even if it's a religious thing we're listening to, we start becoming students of a human teacher in some cases, rather than a divine teacher. And any good earthly teacher who wants to lead you to Jesus Christ is always saying, not me, him. And that is something that even with, you can see it on when you get updates or YouTube suggested videos and everything, you can see how the world has kind of become like a clickbaity type of environment, where even religious people have to kind of say that I know something special to get clicks so they can make money, so that they can become famous or whatever. And religious people are not above that, unfortunately. So we have that always, no matter what you're listening to, no matter what you're reading, no matter what you're doing outside of the Mass, this is always focused on Jesus Christ. Always. And if we get off of that, we have no wisdom. And you can tell when people get off of it. You can tell when your own self gets off of it, because you become ambitious. You start wanting authority and power. You want to get promoted. Those things become incessant in your mind. And what you have to remind yourself is, I did not become Christian for a career. I became Christian because I love Jesus Christ with my whole heart, and he gave me his life, so I can only come here and cry out the words, thank you. And I dedicate my life to him who gave me life. That is what we are. Long time ago now, I think it was Bishop Tsupich, may even be before he came to Chicago, but he did a ordination for the deacons in Washington, D.C. in the Crypt Church. And I was there, and it was a wonderful homily. But in it, he said to the guys who were being ordained, remember that your ordination does not improve your baptism. That's a wonderful thing to remember. Remember that your ordination does not improve your baptism. And he may have gone on to say, remember that nothing can improve the baptism. Nothing can improve what you receive in Eucharist. Nothing can improve that we can do. Nothing can improve that. Nothing can do that. We can strengthen our life in Him by His grace so that we can live a more deep and devout life in Him. But we can't add anything to the wonderful gift He's already given us. And He's given us His very self. So that's pretty much everything. And yet how easy it is for us to fall into those traps. You know, among the priests and bishops that I know, I'm always impressed by the ones that really have done a good job understanding that to be simple, to serve well where you are and not worry about tomorrow. That's a holiness that we can all aspire to, and that has come in the same kind of way. It comes to us in the same way through what Peter experienced by knowing God intimately. So do that, work on that. If you work on your life and you want to learn more, that's fine. But if you find yourself losing that and serving another master, then ask God for that reset. And maybe ask God at the beginning of any kind of learning that you might do. Ask Him for the grace that you never get off that track to the best of His ability. It happens to us all. But we never, we all let's say, God, please, by your grace, always call me home to you. During seminary, I know I keep adding more to this video, but during seminary, at the end of every day, I was led by the same grace of God that led Peter to every day say, love God, love one another as I have loved you, the great commandment, or I used that one, I think. And I said, if anything I've learned today is frustrating that idea or making that hard for me, then I have to sort it out. I have to figure out how it fits, right? And fortunately, that became very central to my life, that's so central now that when I hear things that people are saying or reading, or I see things, I see warnings of that kind of thing automatically now. There you go. That's the source of some of my neurosis that anyone who knows me might know. But I really appreciate what I've learned, and I really appreciate that God focused me on Him. And then everything else I know has greater meaning because it supports and builds up and helps me understand the great mystery, the great truth that I've learned in knowing that Jesus Christ is Lord, as Peter did. So there you go. Have a wonderful week. Enjoy this great reading. It's like 85 here, but it's like way cooler than it's been for the last couple of days. So hope where you are, you're having some relief from heat. And if you're in a place that's been really, really cold, I hope you're having some relief from that too. But wherever you are, may your days be blessed, and continue to pray, please, for peace in the world as we deal with difficult times. Thank you very much for being with us.